Hello guys, this is Vinit from Edge-Forex and today is 16th of May 2025 and I wanted to talk to you guys a bit about how to go about and spot a trade and how to analyze a chart from a very basic like from a very ground up on how to go about looking at a chart, see what the trend is, what are the ingredients. I'm not going to use any indicators. Okay, this is strictly price action, no indicators whatsoever. Indicators are crutches, which is okay to use at times. I'm not against indicators, but how to look at a chart from strictly price action is what you need to learn first before you look at any indicators or any other crutches. Um, Now, and again, don't take me wrong. I'm not against indicators. They're great. Some of them are really, really good. Like I love RSI. I use RSI all the time. And actually, my main strategy that I use for my trading is based on RSI divergence. So I'm not against using indicators, but they have their own place. Before that, before using indicators as crutches, you need to learn a very, very basic price action on how to look at a chart from a uh, very basic level, very, very elementary level. And because every chart tells you a story. Because you're looking at a chart, it's telling me a story. And how do I decipher that story? And how do I read that story to come to a conclusion as to where the ending is going to be? In other words, to select if I want to place a trade, should that trade be a long trade? In other words, buy. Should that be a short trade? In other words, a sell. Or I need to wait it out to see further, or because it's not made up its mind yet. Because we want some confirmations. We want a setup, and then we want a confirmation on how we want to go about that trade. So all that said, so now let's look at this chart in front of us. It is a US dollar, Canadian dollar chart, USD CAD, or USD Loonie chart. And if you look at from left to right, it's very obvious the price is actually going higher. So over last 16, 15 years, price is in a trend and it is going higher. But in the process, there are big drawdowns. See, from here, like 2014 into 2014, like second half, there's a big drawdown. And then here, right around 2015, look at the drawdown from 146 all the way down to 124. That's like a 2,000 pip move. Now here again, 136, 137 to 121. Again, a huge, huge, huge drawdown. But that has not changed anything in the long-term trend, which is, let me correct that, which is still high. So that's the point I'm trying to make, that first, I'm looking at a really, really, really long-term chart, and I know price is going higher. And then I go, okay, now I'm already made up my mind, say 10, 20%, that my bias is now on a long trade or on a buy trade, because I don't want to fight the really, really long-term trend. And I want to make, say, anywhere from, say, 4 to 6, 7, 800 pips. My ideal situation would be if it's a buy trade. In other words, if US dollar is getting stronger and Canadian dollar is getting weaker, that's what it means for USA CAD. So USA CAD pair, if you buy, Canadian dollar getting weaker. If you sell, Canadian dollar is getting stronger. So ideally, as I said, I don't want to fight the trend. I want to go with the trend, because what has not broken in last 15 years, chances are is still going to work for foreseeable future. So now that said, next thing I do, let me just remove this one line. So next thing I do is I go in a little bit zoomed in, which is now I'm looking at weekly. So let's go look at the daily chart. So that means every candle would be a day. So daily chart is showing me a totally different picture. Daily chart is showing me that the price is declining. Okay, it's got all the way, making sure it's daily, right? Yeah, so this is going back. Yeah, this is going back to earlier this month, where the price was say 144, 145. So Canadian dollar obviously is getting stronger if you look at say last 6 months to a year. So now let me zoom even further. So now we looked at 15-year. Canadian dollar is clearly, now how do I know is, so look at this, all right? So it needs to break 140 for it to break that trend. So right now the trend is lower. So, but a really long-term trend is lower. Medium-term trend, really long-term trend, say 15-year trend, is higher. Price is moving higher. That means Canadian dollar is getting weaker. But medium-term trend for say 6 months to a year, the trend is lower. In other words, the US dollar is getting weaker. Canadian dollar is getting stronger. So now, if I zoom in even further, so let me remove this one, and I zoom in further, and I look at say 4-hour chart. Okay, it'll give me a better picture as to now 4-hour chart is telling me the trend is higher. So that 4-hour is really small time frame, as in last few days to few weeks, is telling me the trend is clearly higher if I'm zooming in. So now looking at this, what do I do? Right? My purpose is to make money out of this, right? So I need to decide, looking at this, what is it that can happen? What are my possible scenarios going forward with USD CAD chart? And this applies to any symbol. My idea is not to analyze this particular chart. My idea for you guys is to understand that price action is everything. So now, and patterns are everything, and we'll see how and why. Because this is the first time I'm looking at this, guys. So it's not like I was preparing this or doing any homework. No, my thing is go in totally blank and look at a chart and present to you guys my thought process on how I analyze a chart and how I see and spot high probability trades that are either in the making or will be in the making shortly in the near future. Okay, so right off the bat, what I can see here is a pattern in the making, which is to me looking like here. Okay, so that's a flag pattern. So now I know if the price breaks out on the top line here of the flag, that's a very good confirmation that this upward move is going to continue, and that's a very good idea to get into a trade over there. It's as simple as that. I'm not talking rocket science here. All right. So now, if price breaks below, that means there is a possible reversal in this. So I may want to look at, a short trade or a sell trade. So let me remove these, and then all I look here is another pattern. Let's see. One of my favorite pattern is heads and shoulder. So now if I look at this as my left shoulder and this as my head and this as my right shoulder. Okay, so now if the price breaks below my right shoulder, that's a very good sign that it's going, this upward move has been negated, and now the price is going to move lower. So now you have two possible scenarios. The bullish flag, that means if the price breaks above line, the top line, that gives me a signal where I want to go long. Or if this head and shoulder, the neckline breaks towards on the lower side, I know I want to go short. Now, ideally, my bias is, as I spoke earlier, is going long, because I don't want to go against the very, very, very long trend. And I would wait to see if that, let me draw that bullish flag again. and here and here. So ideally, I would place an order as soon as it breaks this line on the top, say right around 140. And then at that point, I would decide, what is my stop loss and what is my targeted profit for that particular trade. So that's my ideal, and I would avoid going short even if the setup is there. I may go short for a very short trade, like a quick trade, in and out kind of thing. But ideally, my preference would be, because I don't want to fight the trend and I want to go long. So that's what I would actually wait for. And if that doesn't happen, then we look at the chart again. But I wanted to show you guys how I approach when I start analyzing a chart, and how I spot a trade, and how to do. It's not rocket science, guys. So because every chart, as I said, is telling you a story, and it's up to you guys how to interpret it. And the more charts you look at, the easier it actually gets. The more trades you'll keep spotting. And this is one of many videos that or one of many live sessions that I will be doing on chart analysis, price action, and hopefully, you'll gain something out of it, because it's very interesting. If you like trading, if you like chart analysis, it's very, very, very interesting, and you'll see a lot of setups. Charts will start, talking to you, and all these trade setups you'll start spotting them, every a lot of times, and then more you do these, the more charts you analyze, the better you'll become at the entire process. So that said, I think I'll conclude with that for now, and I'll come back live in another few days, because my goal is to do at least 2 to 3 a week going forward. But what I do need from you guys is to comment and let me know what you guys want me to cover next, or what kind of topics you would like me to cover, and I would love to do that. So that said, I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, leave any comments, and I would make sure to reply to those. All right, guys. Thank you.